Guys, welcome to another episode of The Pulse. You know the drill by now. We sit down with people who are doing cool things. They're making a difference. They've got cool stories. And today we've got another person who falls into that category. So, world champion boxer, multiple times. In the last year, it was an Emmy, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice nominees. Kali Reis is here. We'll just talk to you and figure out all of that. So the boxing was first.
Started kind of getting intrigued by it around age 12, 13.
Okay.
But I played sports. I played basketball. I'm one of 5 kids. I'm the youngest. I wasn't really the girly girl, but we always had some kind of artistic outlet, whether music for sure, art, painting, drawing, just creative arts. So I just come from a very creative, interesting background for sure.
But that's a leap. Back in, especially then, because women's boxing is a lot more kind of accepted now. And,
Yes.
and then, how do you decide to do that?
That's a good question. There was nobody in my family that was a fighter. I would say boxing kind of found me at a time where I really needed it. Like I said before, like I wasn't a typical little girl playing with Barbie dolls and stuff. I was like, I wanted to be Bruce Lee. I had, the Karate Kid, and I was always attracted to the soul aspect of combat sports, just regardless. But, coming from, I'm originally from Rhode Island. I'm from the Seekonk and Wampanoag tribe, and I'm also Cape Verdean. So coming from the diverse background, I'm learning about it from birth, where I particularly come from, a warrior line and what we did as people, especially our matriarchal line, and our women in our family, we were always fighters. So that's really how and where it began. I was always the kid sticking up for the ones getting bullied in the neighborhood, and I didn't want to necessarily fight, but I could, and I figured it out, and I wasn't, picking fights, but I was finishing them, just for some kind of bigger purpose, and just being a natural athlete, I just gravitated towards it. On a team, if you're having a bad day, you have, 4 other people on the court, or you can get subbed in, but with something like a combat sport, like fighting, I guess just the self-accountability that you need to have, and the discipline, whereas I come from a household, my parents got divorced, so it was a lot of where do I belong, where do I fit in kind of a thing. It was just a place for me to really be myself and be accepted because I was just a fighter.
You mentioned indigenous background.
Correct.
And you embrace that and get that now and understand that now. Did you feel like it was driving you even then, or is that something you discovered later on in life?
I feel like more towards the middle of my professional career, I kind of really found a quote-unquote purpose. I started when I was still in high school. So, I was playing volleyball, playing basketball, but, everybody knew Kay was boxing. And I had, my gloves on my backpack, and it was cool. It was a cool thing, you know what I mean? And I got to, beat people up. It was great. But it was also a place, especially being a teenager, like, I had so much anger and I had so much confusion that it was the place to put that energy that was really important for me to kind of have that creative space. And it was the only place that I was thinking about that one thing. Like if I had to jump rope for 3 minutes, I was only thinking about that jump rope for 3 minutes. Not why did my dad leave? Why this happen? Why this? It wasn't all. I don't feel this enough or whatever. It was just that one thing.
16 years of it, 6 world titles. In going through that, when did you know it wasn't just a thing that you were good at? It was, I'm like a world champion. Like I'm legit at this.
Starting out when I was a teenager and I was training with Roland Estrada, I call him my pop now. He treated me as a fighter. He was like, you're not a girl, you're not a boy, you're just a fighter. You're gonna do everything that we have to do for training, you know what I mean? And he whipped me into shape. But it's funny, he used to say when I was a teenager, boxing's just a means to an end. You're going to be an actor or something one day. And he's now,
he wasn't wrong.
He's patting himself. He's like, I told you. But he first saw something in me I didn't see in myself. Fast forward to when I went professional, no manager, no promoter. I had, again, Pop was doing his best as a coach and to guide me. But, I had local promoters not wanting to put me on shows, saying, first of all, I'm a female, I'm a woman boxer. That around that time, 2008, there really wasn't putting too many fighters on. Right. You can't sell tickets, plus having jobs and trying to put myself through college. I just kind of kept my head down and did the work. I wanted to be a world champion, but I didn't think I was good enough yet. Okay. Fast forward to, I link up with, now is my husband, my boxing manager, Brian Cohen, and he saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And then, go fast forward to 2018 when I was the first female fight on HBO. I lost. But from there, I haven't lost a fight.
Right.
And from there, that's when I started believing.
Coming up next, it's an interesting story how she connects her many passions and talents.
My medicine happens to be fighting and fighting for my people. So I use my boxing platform to speak about things that were important to my community.
So you go through that whole process. You start believing in boxing, but it sounds like you start believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that level of success. This person, Pop, said you could be an actor.
I know.
Like,
It's
all right, I'm a world champion. I knocked down this wall. I'm doing all this. I probably should go get some Emmys and Golden Globes and whatever. Like, how does that transition happen?
Every morning I'm like, what is life? But how that transition even happened, it wasn't a thought that I was like, okay, I won a couple of world titles. I'm just going to
I'm gonna go act.
go act. No, that wasn't how that happened. One of my brothers actually, he passed away in 2017 from brain cancer. Okay. And boxing was our thing. Like, he was my biggest fan. Boxing's always been my outlet. It's given me so much. I've traveled the world. It's taken a lot from me too. I've missed weddings, funerals, graduations. I missed all the things, but those are sacrifices. So that at that point, I didn't even want to go in the gym because I'd be shadow boxing and I'd see him sitting there, and it would be one of those things that I just couldn't do it. So for whatever reason at that time, really odd, acting, I was like, all right, outside of boxing, I got to start thinking, like, what is my next steps? And acting, for whatever reason,
It's just, I'll act.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I have to have a cameo in like a commercial or something? There's steps. There's protocol. I'm a Virgo. We compartmentalize everything. So I'm like, there's steps. I didn't take the steps.
Yeah, you skipped some steps.
I skipped the line. Writer-director of the first movie I did called Catch the Fair One,
Mm-hmm.
he found me on Instagram. He saw that I was bringing awareness to missing murdered Indigenous women, and he loved boxing, but he was also just learning about MMIW and the Highway of Tears in Canada, and he is a filmmaker, so he wanted to write a film based around this epidemic. So when he saw that I was bringing awareness, he's like, boxing? Cool. Slid up in my DM and was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. Did you ever think about acting?
What?
I'm like, yeah, I thought about it. Was you listening, kind of a thing? And from there, it snowballed in a very odd but very coincidental, but very on purpose thing. Was a week to that day, with my I don't know, acting this. I was just really intentional. I said, if it's meant for me, it'll find me, and I let it go. Literally a week later to that day, that's when I got that inbox. And fast forward to where it's taken me.
Yeah,
it was
pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Like, pretty quick in terms of the acting. Like, you put 16 however many years into the boxing.
Yeah.
But the acting was 2018, 2019 getting started. We're only in 2025.
I know.
And you're on hit shows and movies and all of these nominees and next to Jodie Foster and those types of things. Does it shock you, or you just believe in that path and that energy?
It's happened really fast. But it's right where I need to be. I don't think that anything put in my path is not meant for me. When you have to force something and you're chasing something, things are not happening. Sometimes it's not meant for you at that time. I treat this just like I did with my boxing, or what I do with everything is I'm just going to do the work. I'm going to learn as much as I can, do my best, do the work, and then the rest will follow, and the rest has followed. And I've just taken advantage of every opportunity that I've had. Is it weird still, like getting nominated and like people work 20 plus years and they they're just now getting a nomination, and I'm like, it's a lot to take in as far as like imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? Like, did somebody make a mistake?
Yeah, y'all went through all those steps.
Yeah,
you should have just followed my path.
Exactly. So it's I'm just I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. It's given me a lot of opportunity to branch off into other things, especially out of boxing. Like, look at athletes, not just boxers, but athletes. There's not usually a plan B. And I've gotten blessed to be simultaneously not fully retired, but have this flourishing career, also promoting. Like, it's just really, really a big blessings for me to be able to jump into this and love it. I actually fell in love with it.
Coming up, Kaylee explains her take on what real representation looks like in Hollywood.
We want to tell the stories, of course, and we want to make sure we're doing it authentically and we have a chance to tell our stories, but we also just want the work.
We had Zahn McClarnon on
I love Zahn.
So he was on with us, and it was interesting. And I wonder if you feel the same way, because we were talking about the responsibility of kind of indigenous actors, because there's so few roles, and oftentimes they are the same role that he was talking about. We need indigenous. Calls on.
Yep.
You know, we do those things.
Token native of the
Right. And it is. So he was talking about kind of balancing the fact that he wants to be a strong representative for his people and also kind of expand the roles. So I'm not just the indigenous actor, I'm just the actor.
Yeah.
Is that a tough line to kind of navigate? Because you're so proud of it and advocating, but I'm guessing you also kind of like, you can call me for all the roles. You know, is it a tough act to kind of balance?
See, my position is really interesting too, because I'm not just Native. My position being mixed Native, I'm being mixed Black Native, being Cape Verdean and Native.
Right.
It comes with its own war zone. You're not Black, but you are, but you're white, but it's its own little entity. Then you mix it with the fact that I come from New England, from a first contact tribe that was damn near wiped out. And I'm Native, but I don't look like your typical Native. I look like my ancestors. I'm not going to look like Zahn's ancestors.
Right.
But then you mix all that in a bag of, okay, you're indigenous, you step out into the world. Now people are questioning who you are. And who are you? Who claims you? And it's like, my people claim me. And I didn't grow up on a res. I grew up in an urban Native, as we call it. You know, we are a tribe that is trying to put the pieces back together. And it's so when it comes to indigenous representation and making sure I get those roles, it's interesting navigating it, because I have a very unique position, because I represent so much, but I also want to be able to represent so much, you know what I mean? But also my hope for indigenous actors and indigenous people in this industry is that exactly that. We just get the roles because we're good at it. We want to tell the stories, of course, and we want to make sure we're doing it authentically and we have a chance to tell our stories, but we also just want the work.
You were the first woman fighting on HBO televised. You're out there as an activist and advocate, boxing, acting, representing people, diverse people. It's a lot of firsts, and with a lot of firsts and breaking down walls comes a lot of responsibility.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't ready. So I'm ready. I'm ready for it. It's interesting when you're taking a road less traveled. It means nobody's been down this road, so I don't have anybody to compare it to, and I don't have anybody to ask, like, so what did you do when you got here? Right. But I do. I being surrounded by so many successful people and people I can pick their brains just to kind of how they navigated their things. Being the first this and first that, it's an honor. But again, it's a little nerve wracking, but I know I can handle it. I know I have the tools and the strength and the guidance with people around me to do this.
True Detective was a big deal.
Yes.
How was it working with them? Like that was, I'm guessing, a next step in your acting career with some huge names, like in a huge franchise. How was it working with them? Did they embrace you? Is that are those people you see yourself doing things with in the future? Absolutely.
I mean, Jodi's the homie now. Okay. She absolutely loves my husband. Like, they're besties right now. It was, I going from, the first movie and then the second movie and this being my third job, it was a huge leap. And it was a huge leap from somewhere I didn't even know where I was in the first step. The first movie was like, okay, this is new. Let's try to figure it out here. And then we'll go. No, it was kind of like I got launched into this. Yeah. And I couldn't have been launched into this with better people. I mean, they're people I see as friends now. I mean, the whole Jodi, obviously, we worked really closely together. The director, Issa Lopez, and the entire cast was amazing that I still speak to now to this day. The crew. I mean, I've gotten blessed to be around really embracing, really warm, welcoming people, which also is good for me because it makes me comfortable enough to not know everything. And I know just the tip of the iceberg right now of what this is and what it can be. So the fact that I have such a support system, especially with a big project like this, I was able to do the work. I was nervous, of course, and I had so much to learn and so much responsibility, but having those surroundings really made it way easier.
I love hearing that, because you were kind of an outsider into that world. It must have been interesting for you too. It's like, oh, they actually are cool. Okay, I can go ahead and settle in here.
Yeah, no, I definitely was an outsider. I mean, when, little Jodie Foster walked through that door, I'm like, oh my God. I had like a panic attack for like all of 15 seconds, and I played it cool. But you hear horror stories. And you see people, and who knows, people may have caught other people on their bad days. We're all human, but it was refreshing to see, like, oh, okay, it's not like somebody's gonna order a bowl of just green M&Ms and be mean to everybody.
Yes.
Like, no, this is like,
Yes.
we're all just a bunch of like grown geeks and dorks that want to tell this story and do this cool art. This is awesome. This is my people.
So, boxing promoter. Is that the next thing we should be looking for?
Being a fighter, this is what's really unique about when you have somebody who's done the thing, who's also now behind the scenes doing the thing, meaning I'm a fighter, but now I'm the promoter. So I understand what it's like to be on fight week and having to make weight and the struggles of traveling and going to a different place. And, I know all that. I have a feeling that it's going to expand. And I'm excited to see where it can go because we have a really good format. We have a really good team. And I'm just... I just want to get these fighters the best fights, the best opportunity. I want to give Philly, Philly's a fighting city. I came here to start training for a reason. So I'm really excited to, as a fight fan, to put on these great fights, showcase a lot of women fights and showcase a lot of good local fights. So we'll see where it expands.
Next on The Pulse, she's really a champion for so many communities, and that can be a balancing act.
From being a fighter, like, there's a stigma that comes with that. Being a woman of color, being Cape Verdean, being Native, being everything. All the things that I check, I have an opportunity to kind of give a positive example.
What project should we be looking for on the acting side?
So I did a project called The Rebuilding with Josh O'Connor last summer, and it's actually premiering at Sundance. Also, I did shoot Wind River 2 right after True Detective. There's no timeline on when that's going to be released, but you can look out for that. And also a film called Mercy with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. That was really, really dope to film. I was so excited to film it.
Husband's off camera going,
yeah, just whatever.
like,
just...
Okay, Chris Pratt,
Yeah,
Jodie
man.
Foster, and throwing names out there.
Yeah, that should be
5
out.
years.
I know.
You've been at this 5 years.
I know. It just happened. I did a film. The second film I did with Sean Penn is called Asphalt City. It's out. You can stream it now.
The advocacy work, the charity work, the kind of being outspoken, seems like that's something that really matters to you. Like, speak to that. That's always going to be a part of what you do.
Always. I mean, like I said, it's the purpose I have, and if I have this stage or this platform or whatever you want to call it, it's not about me, it's about we. Of course, yes, I'm the one here doing the thing, but I represent so much. There's so many people that look like me that haven't seen themselves in these positions that look like them, especially younger kids or even older people. Like, they haven't seen them in a place of success or a place where they want to be but thought it was impossible. That's a huge purpose, and it's very, very important because there was such a long time where we were silenced as Indigenous people or people of color. From being a fighter, like, there's a stigma that comes with that. Being a woman of color, being Cape Verdean, being Native, being everything, being from New England, all the things that I check, I have an opportunity to kind of give a positive example and speak on things like missing and murdered Indigenous women that people don't know about, that happens every day to people next door. Like, it happens in a place near you. It's something that's a reality for Indigenous families. I've sat down with families. I've watched them chase their loved ones. I've sat down with victims. Our pipelines being drilled through waters and trees being broken with these lands, these sacred lands being torn apart. It affects not only Indigenous community, and Indigenous people are, the stewards of the land. Wherever you are in the world, there's Indigenous people that were there before you. So I represent all of this, and it's just a reminder. It's always going to be a part of what I do.
We end every episode asking people, when they hear the phrase, use your voice for good, what does that mean to you?
As an Indigenous woman, our voices were silenced for so long. So if there's a way you can use your voice, it could be a kind word to somebody. It can even be a smile. Use your voice for good just means use your voice for good energy, put good out in the world. What you put out, you receive. You want good. You want people to speak nice to you. You want people to talk nice to you or put good energy towards you. Use your voice for that as well. That's what it means to me.
Guys, thanks so much for watching the latest episode of The Pulse today with actor and boxing champion and advocate, activist Kali Reis. She has such an amazing story to tell, and it's just cool seeing how quickly things happened for her in her career, and she continues to use her voice for good. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I leave you today as I always do, reminding you whenever you can, use your voice for good and have a good one.